Minsk or anywhere else, are going to stop this shift in momentum and stop this counterattack against the Ukrainian troops.
And that's Irish Times correspondent Dan McLaughlin speaking to me from Mariupol in eastern Ukraine.
The Defence Minister Simon Coveney and the Taoiseach have both raised issues over the role Irish troops are playing in the UN peacekeeping mission in the Golan Heights. A demilitarised zone has turned into the location of a civil war, says the government. We're hearing this morning that negotiations for the release of the soldiers held captive are now being led by a new UN negotiation team which has been sent to Syria. Derek Mooney is a former government advisor on defence and is with us now. Good morning, Derek.
Morning.
You advise the Fianna Fáil Green Coalition. Would you say that the developments of the past few days are concerning? Surely you'd agree.
Absolutely. There's no question of doubt that they are concerning. The only thing I would make the point is that Minister Coveney has rightly said that the Irish don't want to get dragged into a Syrian civil war. That's absolutely the case. But we deployed there from September 2013. The Syrian civil war has been going on since 2011, so we knew what we were getting into. I think one of the things I would be a little bit concerned about over the last few days, with comments coming from the Taoiseach and ministers, etc., is we're not talking sufficiently about the robustness, the training, the capability and the experience of the troops that we have on the ground there. There are 130 troops serving in this current rotation. That's due to end sometime around the end of September. Of those 130, about 42 of them, this is their first mission. But for the other balance of that, that's about 90. They have somewhere in the region of 275 missions between them. That's a minimum of 3 each. That means that each soldier has served a minimum of 3 missions over the past few years. So this is a very experienced group of people.
Yeah, I think the Minister said last night on 6-1, and he said on this programme and elsewhere as well, that the Irish troops that are there have amongst the most advanced weaponry, are amongst the most skilled. And we heard last week in the programme from the UN the fact that the Irish were referred to as the backbone of this mission.
Absolutely.
But isn't it perfectly reasonable that the sort of concerns we're seeing highlighted publicly in the past week or so by Irish ministers and the Taoiseach should be voiced and should be
absolutely
expressed?
But there's a difference between voicing the concerns and seeming to put the idea of withdrawal on the table. One of the things that's been talked about, and Tom Clone has a good piece in the Irish Times today about this, is about changing the nature of the mandate. The UNDOF mission has been there since 1973-74. This is its 40th year. The mandate for that, the resolution, has been passed by the Security Council every 6 months. It was passed last June. It's June to be discussed and debated and passed again at the end of December. If we haven't raised the concerns before now, changing that mandate is going to create problems under the triple lock. So I think we've got to be very careful about putting. There seems to be in the background talk. There seems to be something entering the ether that's the possibility of immediate withdrawal, and I think that needs to be dampened down. But certainly in terms of the mission, it's a Chapter 6 mission, which is at the low end of of UN peacekeeping, and if we want to move it to Chapter 7, that's going to need a new mandate. But definitely the nature of what's happening has changed. But that has changed. That's one of the reasons the Austrians withdrew from it. This didn't change in the last couple of weeks. This changed.
It has ramped up, though, you'd agree, in the last month
has
or
been,
so.
But we've had sporadic instances before that. There was a mention of an incident in November last year. There was also an incident in November 2012. So there has been, but definitely, that in terms of the activity seems to be moving into that region.
There's a government spokesperson quoted in the Irish Times this morning saying the current mandate has been compromised. That's the reality, is it not?
Well, in terms of certainly the people I've been talking to the last 24, 48 hours are of the opinion that the mandate that the troops are there who cannot exercise that mandate over the entirety of the area. It's a strip about, I think it's minimum 10 kilometres wide, about 70 kilometres long, and I think at the southern end of it, effectively there is no UN presence, and I think that is what of major concern. I don't think Ireland should be saying, however, we're going to withdraw unless this is dealt with in the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, the United Nations...
Nobody has really said that, though, have they?
No, but if you look at the background noise that's emerging, this hasn't come out of this has come into the domain somehow or other. And I think that's so careful. I mean, that you see on various headlines in newspapers, Tom Brady had a piece yesterday in the Irish Independent why we shouldn't withdraw. And somewhere along the line, somebody is talking about withdrawal. And I think we've got to nail that one down.
What would you advise the government to do now?
I think first thing we do is to start talking more robustly about our capability and our capacity, is that we're well skilled and well up to the job. I think the second point is that to conduct less public discussions with the United Nations about how this mandate can be increased. I think just before the last rotation, the Security Council had said that it was going to increase the capacities, the self-defence capacities and capabilities of the mission, and I think they increased the numbers by a small amount. I think that's what we should be looking to do, is looking to increase the capacity of the mission. If we're going to talk about mandate changes, that's something that will have further ramifications. I think that's something not to be putting on the table just now.
Right, but increasing the capacity of the mission, would you be suggesting sending more Irish troops, additional troops?
In terms of it's a quick reaction force, yes, I think at the moment we have, I think it's 430 troops serving overseas. Back in 5-10 years ago, we had at any given time 820, 830. So we certainly have the capacity to send extra troops if necessary, whether to that region or another region is another matter. For most of the time where I was in the Department of Defence, you would have had a contingent of about 400, 420 in one place. That was recently in Liberia, in Lebanon, in Chad, etc. By no means will we send anywhere that size to that area. But I think the United Nations has to start looking at increasing the presence on the ground there.
We turn now to a paper published by the University of Limerick which says new legislation to deal with hate crime is needed. The paper is entitled A Life Free from Fear. It's based in consultation with a range of NGOs, non-governmental organisations, working with people who've been victims of hate crime. Legislation is needed urgently, says the report's authors. Jennifer Schwepp is a law lecturer at the University of Limerick. She's one of the paper's authors.
We did a survey of NGOs in Ireland who are representing individuals who have been victims of hate crime and victims of hate incidents to find out what their views were on the current legal situation. And I suppose two clear findings came from that study. First of all, that hate crime is a real issue. All of our participants stated that they have experience of bringing their clients through the criminal justice system. Some of their clients have experienced hate crime, and that there is a palpable sense that the individuals that they represent do not feel safe in Irish society today, and that individuals are being targeted because of who they are or because of what they look like. And the second main finding was that the criminal justice system simply isn't fit for purpose at the moment, that it's not capable, it doesn't have the tools of dealing with hate crime, and more importantly, that there's no obligation on any of the actors in the criminal justice system to do anything to protect individuals who've been victimised because of who they are or what they look like. And there's no obligation on the criminal justice system to punish the offenders any more harshly.
As part of your study, have you been able to get a hold of the number of such cases that we have been dealing with, or that the NGOs have been dealing with?
It's very, very difficult, and I suppose that's one of the problems with the current situation, is that the criminal justice system just doesn't have the tools that it can challenge hate crime. And by challenging hate crime, I mean everything from recording incidents and recording crimes right up to prosecuting them. We do know that the NGOs have had that a large number of individuals report hate incidents and hate crimes to them. We do know that an awful lot of those offences involve serious violence against individuals, and we know that what they do not do, what these victims do not do, is report those to the police.